Reaperman here with another look at kind of an older arcade controller, and this one is a bit of a mystery. So I bought it in a lot with the stick and also this Greatest Hits Dragon Ball Z game. And the reason it's kind of a mystery is there's no brand name anywhere on it, and that's kind of odd because it's actually made pretty well. It's not made of the best stuff, but it's actually made pretty well. Now, looking initially at the controls, around the dust washer, we see that little crown symbol. I'm not sure exactly who makes these, but I've seen this symbol on a fair number of other Chinese sticks from the era, specifically the red octane that I kind of remodeled into the Lando stick. This ball feels very hollow, and it's got a seam kind of around the edge. Also, there's a fair amount of throw to it. Now, if we look under the dust washer, it's got a perfectly round, it's got a perfectly round hole. It's not using the hole as a gate though, so it does have a gate up on the other side, which that's nice. Looks like it's MDF, and it's got this kind of shimmery paper, kind of like glitter paper, adhered to the top of the MDF, and it actually folds around into the corners, and you can see where they've folded it like a Christmas present and then cut it, so it's just kind of adhesed on there. Now, this stick is for PlayStation 2. It is also for PC. This is not for power for the PlayStation 2. It does actually have PC compatibility, HID standard. The buttons here are the same kind that I've seen with this kind of symbol on the stick here, where they're a particularly long throw. Now, these are the Convex buttons, and I've seen these also in concave, where they kind of resemble American buttons from the top, but on the bottom side they do not. They look very Asian. They've got kind of an almost keyboard style switch to them, and these do click. So it's almost like the click jacket in a keyboard switch. So we'll get down there in a bit here. Coming around the sides, so this top is MDF. These sides, I'm not entirely sure what they're made out of. It has kind of the finished feeling of those kind of cardboard jewelry cases, which maybe isn't the best of all things. But it looks like there's been a kind of a fold around. Like I believe there is actually an MDF support here that this is screwed into, but we'll get there in a second. But these are more kind of paper covered cardboard or maybe MDF. If you look at just how many screws there are holding this bottom on, this is about to get to be kind of interesting here. And another thing that's kind of interesting is the shape of this is rectangular. However, there's a little notch that in the same piece of the base comes up and covers the gap that would be in this section here for where the cable pops through, and that is an awfully difficult way to do that. And in my mind, how they probably did it is this was probably just a little longer, and they saw it in from this side and they saw it in from that side, and that gave them that little gap filler. But on a stick of this quality, you wouldn't actually think that would be necessary, and that some kind of blemishes and kind of suboptimal construction would be expected. But yeah, I think we've gone around the outside pretty much enough here. Let's go and open this thing up and have a look at the inside. Okay, so now I've got all 10 of these little screws pulled out, and let's have a look at what's in here. I'll grab it by this little notch. Boom! And there we go. There's a quick look at the mess there. That's interesting that this is actually a square gate, because it actually feels like a round one from the top. So that's interesting. Let's have a look first at the back of this thing, though. Now, as you can see, like I would have thought this would be kind of a mass manufactured thing, but it looks like it's kind of handmade, and that they drew everything out, including this little notch up here, which, yes, it's got some goo on it, but it's actually part of this sheet up here, that they didn't just glue it on, which I think is, that's kind of weird there. And then they've clearly measured out everything. Hello, cat. Now, getting down here, here is the main circuitry of the unit. It is just this little board here. There's probably a little glob-top on the other side of it. And then these individual buttons. These individual buttons are all grounded together, and they have quick releases on them. That's interesting. But these are definitely Asian style buttons, where they have the switch at the bottom, but they click, almost like a keyboard switch with a click jacket on them. And we've got some actually big kind of arcade style micro switches here on the stick. and they function exactly like one would expect. This thing is kind of a traditional plunger spring arrangement there. We can pull down on it, and it's got a spring on there for tension. And yeah, it actually, now that I'm looking at it, feels square, but didn't initially feel square. So it does also appear that there is about a half of an inch of MDF building up this thing, maybe even a slightly less than that, but then it's got this wrapped around the outside, and that provides just a little bit of a frame for alignment on this thing. And this controller seems to have strain relief both on the inside and the outside, so that is kind of interesting that it's all set up to be used with this board. Anyway, this stick has been kind of a mystery to me, so if anybody's seen something like this, let me know down in the comments. Oh wow, these switches, they actually cheaped out a little bit on them. They don't have the normally closed version of them. That's kind of interesting. So it's actually only got ground and then the actual main one. They don't have the secondary one. So that's, oh, this is actually kind of a curious little thing. But I guess until next time, Reaper Man out.